Torment Tides of Numenera. This is my first video review, so I hope you will enjoy it. The images are from my very first playthrough that can be found on my channel too. I don't want to spoil anything, but the game actual story is very good and it will reveal itself slowly as you progress till the very end. And there's a classical surprise moment at the ending. So it's probably the story where this game shines the most. Um, I'm gonna divide the game in 10 sections. Um, so let's start with the first one, the story. Um, you're the last cast off, the changing god abandoned your body, and you wake up without knowing who you are or what is your purpose. It's very cliche, but you're wrong. It's a cliche start maybe, but it has a great story, and I swear to God, if they made a TV show or a movie, it would be better with this story than the actual game. You play between the labyrinth and the world of Numenera, or the ninth world as they call it. The labyrinth is a place where you will hone your skills and upgrade some quirks, perks, and similar stuff. The classical RPG element. Instead, that labyrinth is like a place in your mind, an illusion that Changing God made. Um, the happenings of this game are like a billion years after the award-winning title Planescape Torment, and it took like how much 20 years, a bit less than 20 years, for them to make another part of Planescape Torment. This time they called it Torment Tides of Numenera. Numenera because the ninth world is actually Earth, and that's the only spoiler I'm gonna give you. The ninth world is a combination of all of those previous civilizations that happened before the ninth world, and they're all combined together. We don't know exactly how many civilizations existed, but there is everything in this game from axes, swords, to laser guns. So I guess a lot has happened in the meantime. Um, Back to the changing god in the actual story. You, as the player, are in the role of a last cast off, the last body that changing god abandoned, and you're a shell now. The guy who hates changing god, the main villain in a game, is the Sorrow, and he's very cool. I really love them. You'll see when you play the game. Um, He's basically a very cool looking dude. He looks like a combination of a squid and a reaper. And he one shots everything. Um, all cast offs before us, the last cast off, abuse the tides. And the Sorrow hates that and he wants them dead. With tides, what tides are basically, with tides, cast offs can change the past, alter the future. They can use artifacts and ciphers, and the Sorrow hates that, so that's why he is after the changing gods vessels. Let's call them vessels. Um, the story is 8 out of 10. I would give it a 9 out of 10, but they haven't done the voice covers, and if they actually did voice covers on every conversation, instead of making us reading everything, then I would give it a 9 out of 10. But now we're gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for the story. Um, the game is actually a very large book with 15,000 pages, disguised only as a game. So let's speak now about the next section, game time. It took me around 45 hours to finish the game with reloading some quests in order to see every possible choice and every possible consequence of the quest and all the different outcomes. And I also spent a lot of time reading the conversations very carefully. So 45 hours with gameplay and with reading. Reading is like 80% of the game, 20% of the game is exploring and the actual gameplay. Game time is solid, and it's a 7 out of 10 for a CRPG. I wished it was longer, but that's how it is. Let's go now to the third section, the game difficulty. There is no difficulty to choose from here, and the only difficulty game gives you is rather easy or normal. It's like the game was made for reading and exploring and the actual story, and the devs didn't care much about difficulty. When I better think about it, they didn't care at all about difficulty. Most of fights are very easy, but conversation options can sometimes be a very hard choice to make. Decisions are way much harder than actual crisis. Crisis is part where you fight in turn-based combat here. Game difficulty, I'll give it a 2 out of 10 in my book here, because there is no game difficulty. Game bugs is the next section. I encountered exactly 3 crashes and one very huge game-breaking bug at the end of the game in my 45 hours playthrough with Aligern, one of our companions. He is prone and he stays on the ground or wherever. Um, Whatever you do, he won't stand up. When you change the map, he is always prone, and when you enter the crisis, the game completely shuts down. Um, there is a solution here. On the start of the game, when you're deciding who will be your companion, Aligern or Calistige, I strongly advise that you pick Calistige at least until they patch the game with Aligern, because it's very annoying. Um, it's a solid and very good overall experience with bugs, and I would give it an 8 out of 10 for how this game works overall, combined with some tiny bugs and glitches. It's very good. They'll fix that bug with Aligern, I guess. The next section is the maps and graphics. Maps, environment, NPCs, the world of Numenera, its monuments, its bright and dark colors, very good art. Everything is somehow well combined and it's interesting. It makes you want to see the next part, so that's a very good thing. Um, you want to triple check every object of interest, every NPC, every loop examine marker. They're really invested into explaining everything in detail when you want to inspect objects, and that is a great experience. There are no acts, but this world of Numenera consists of 4.5 big areas, big maps, with a lot of mini sub-maps to explore. And every map is a joy to watch if you're a fan of a drone art style, an old school RPG style, CRPG style. Um, the game is very similar to Baldur's Gate, to Planescape Torment, to Icewind Dale. It's that type of graphics. Um, there are around 50 different maps, all combined, mini maps, all combined, and you traverse most of the game through portals. if we exclude the first area of Sagas Cliffs. Map scenarios in this game are great. They nailed that, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for this type of CRPG, and I really think it's fair. They invested a lot into maps and graphics, and I like it. So 9 out of 10. The next section is gameplay. I love the usage of mirror casters and entering the mirrors, and that's a big plus. Mirror and mirror casters, it's traversing through someone else's past, and you can alter the future when you step inside their heads. It's a very interesting part of the game. I really liked it. That's one thing of the gameplay. The other thing that I want to speak about is that it's very smooth, but when you fight someone in Crisis, if there are more than 4 enemies, you will wait 1,000,000 years for your turn to happen, and that's a bit sluggishly done. The devs didn't care much about fights because everything can be solved through conversation, and a 5 out of 10 would be a fair choice here for the gameplay. And that's only because of the conversations in the world of Numenera. I would give it even less, but 5 out of 10 is a fair score. The next section is itemization. Itemization, I want to speak about this. It's bad. It's just very bad. I didn't like one single item from the game, and there are so few items in this game. Items are scarce, unfortunately. You can equip armor, cloak, artifact, the weapon of choice, from light to heavy, medium weapons, ranged or melee, doesn't matter, and banded items, or as they call them here, banded artifacts. It's only 6 slots to equip, unfortunately. We also have ciphers. The problem is there are so many ciphers and artifacts too. A bigger version of ciphers. You can an artifact here is like a bigger version of cipher. You can use cipher only once, but artifact can be used multiple times. Let's say like 5 times. The main problem with those, they're not needed. They just ruin the overall experience. It's a good idea, but they ruin the overall experience here. And your companions also can only wear their stuff, and you can upgrade their stuff only once. So all the, like 90% of the items that you'll find is only for you, the last cast off. Itemization, in my humble opinion, is bad. I'll give it a 3 out of 10, because not once I care about any weapon or armor the game throw at me, so that sucks. To the next section. It's gonna be, just let me check, it's gonna be leveling. You have might, speed, and intellect as primary attributes. It's pretty much classic in RPGs, but they're kinda lame. Nothing seems to matter. Whatever you choose, it's same. I can remember, for example, one single spell from the game, and I can't even name it now. The only thing you need to do is level conversation skills, like persuasion, intimidation, and amnesias, and all the other skills that will make your life easier with those conversations. You can complete the whole game without ever entering a single fight. What else? It's nice ideas with gold, indigo red, blue, and silver tides. It's like how the world of Numenera sees you. Gold is like for valor, red is like for those that are harsh, blue is for those that are good. You get the point, you'll see. It all depends from your conversations actually, and what will you do inside the game, and there's a lot to do with those conversations. What else in leveling? It's a nice idea with those ciphers that I've mentioned in itemization, but after the while they get annoying, and you can also complete the game without using a single cipher. So what is the point for them? Um, Leveling will get a 4 out of 10 for me. Alright, two more sections are left. We go to the classes. We have 3 classes to choose from. It's a glaive, a warrior type of class, a jack, uh, dexterity assassin type of class, and a nano. Guess what? It's a mage. Those 3. Nothing, absolutely nothing special here. The classes are not important, all because there is no difficulty here, and whatever you choose is gonna be the same, and you can complete the whole game without using anything. Only basic attacks are enough, so the class is not important at all. For classes, I'll give it a solid 5 out of 10, and that's, well, I can't say that it's fair, but let's give it a 5 out of 10. And the last section is companions and NPC. To be honest, companions are dull, they're boring, and only Matkina, the white death, is a bit interesting, because she's a Kestov too, like you. The rest of them are soulless, boring, and just there to complete the numbers. You can go with 4 different companions, there are 6 or 7 to choose from, and they all have their personal stories that I never cared about. No voice covers on them too, only for the first line they say, and that's it. They tend to talk among each other when you stand still for like a minute, but that's also classic, nothing special about it. But since I'm reviewing companions and NPCs currently, NPCs on the other side are way more interesting. From talking monsters, mechanical creatures, all sorts of cults, different cults, merchants, machines, to mini bosses and big bosses, and the actual Sorrow and the Changing God. Um, they're all great. I love them. There are some very interesting parts with the NPCs in the game, and that's why I'll give this section an 8 out of 10. But the companions lower that grade. I would give it more, like 9 out of 10. But 8 out of 10 is a fair. So, the conclusion. Um, I reviewed 10 sections of the game that I think are the most important overall. And if we combine the points that I gave on each section, it's exactly 60. And there are 10 different sections, as I said, so the final grade would be a 6 out of 10. I had my fun with the game. It was a nice distraction from all of those generic shooters and MOBAs and card games and whatever. It's a classic old school RPG. Could be way much better if they invested a bit more time, made the game bigger, did the voice covers. There is space for improvement here to be like 8 out of 10. I don't know how much do they care about the game, but it has a lot of space for improvement, and I can really see that. And I'm a personal fan of the CRPGs, so 6 out of 10 is very fair here. There are like 20 different endings in the game. It's a lot. What do I recommend here for the end? If you are an RPG lover, a CRPG lover, like me, I think the game is worth to buy if you're not just wait for a sale and buy it for a lower price. Okay, I hope you people enjoyed my very first video review, and if